Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing my Booktube-a-thon wrap-up. I am super excited because I was able to complete all 7 challenges. Very proud of myself for this because originally I really didn't think I was going to get anything done, but if you saw my sort of Friday Reads Booktube-a-thon update video that I posted on Friday, you would have seen that I had significantly more free time to read than I have in like a year. Like, I haven't had this much free time to read in so long, and it's mainly just because work has been really slow lately. So I read a bunch of ebooks that I wasn't planning on reading. So I'm going to go through all of the books that I read and what challenges they completed, and I'm going to just talk about my experience with them, whether or not I liked them or not, really quickly. So the first book I finished was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This is a collection of like vignettes or short stories almost, following a whole bunch of different people who live on Mango Street. You're mainly following this one young Latina girl who is growing up in Chicago on Mango Street, and you are just experiencing this neighborhood and this world around her all through her eyes. This was so good. I loved it so much. I'm so glad I read it, and I'm also really glad that I read it now because I'm not sure if I would have appreciated this as much in high school. I mean, maybe I would have. I enjoyed it so much. It was so great to see how Sandra Cisneros was able to describe sort of growing up as a Latina girl in Chicago and the different types of people you come across, your friendships as a young girl growing up, and the difficulties that come with growing up and things like that. It was so good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it. It's really short. It was perfect for a read-a-thon. I forgot to mention The House on Mango Street was for the book that is older than you challenge. The next book that I finished was The Archived by Victoria Schwab. This is a young adult book, and that completed the book that you discovered on Booktube challenge. So I wasn't super crazy about The Archived. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a totally fine story, but I found it to be a little bit predictable. I saw all of the quote-unquote twists coming. In case you weren't aware, in this story you are following this girl named Mackenzie Bishop, who is a keeper, and it's sort of hard to explain without getting too far into it, but basically she needs to find these sort of like spirits almost who have woken up, and to send them back to the archive where they are kept. And there seems to be something slightly more happening because there are a whole lot of more people that she has to try to find and capture. There was a whole lot happening in this story that I really appreciated. There was a lot of depth to these characters. Mackenzie's younger brother had recently passed away, and so her family is dealing with that, and so they move away to sort of get a fresh start, and Mackenzie isn't super excited about that idea. There is a boy that she meets, is very clearly the love interest in this story. Yeah, I just gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine. It was a really quick read. Again, it was really good for a read-a-thon because it's very plot heavy. I believe that this is the first in a trilogy. I probably won't be going on with it because it didn't compel me enough to really keep on reading. The next book that I finished was Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson. This is supposed to be an adult novel, I believe, that's coming out in August. I got an arc of it from Edelweiss, but it feels more like a young adult novel to me. It's only like 200 pages long, which again made it perfect for a read-a-thon. It's very stream of consciousness, which may or may not appeal to people. I'm generally someone who doesn't like stream of consciousness, but I really enjoyed this book. I don't know if it's just because I really like the way Jacqueline Woodson writes. That probably has a lot to do with it, actually. In this story, you are following this girl named August who, well, in the beginning of the story, it's a woman named August who returns back to her home in Brooklyn after being away for a really long time, and she comes across one of her old childhood friends, and then you sort of like flash back in time and you see them growing up. It's all told from the point of view of August, and it's sort of just like her reminiscing about her growing up and about these friendships that she had and about these complicated relationships that she had with her brother and her father and these girls around her. I found that this was just a really great depiction of friendship, especially like growing up as a girl when you're going through these sort of like awkward middle school, high school years, these bonds that you form and these sort of ideas that you have for what your life will be and what you want out of your life and what actually happens and all of this stuff. It was a really great read. This is one that I, again, just flew through. This takes place, or at least the story of August growing up takes place significantly in Brooklyn, I believe in about the 1970s. So there is a lot of exploration of just like the crime and the drugs and the sort of more gritty part of New York that you don't really see quite as much because they've sort of of cleaned up quite a bit. I put that in air quotes because you can debate about how that has actually turned out. And so there's a lot of point and counterpoints to growing up, just being this girl growing up in this great city, but also being really afraid about the things that you're encountering and not being completely sure of like who you can trust and what you should be doing and right and wrong and all this sort of morally gray areas that you come across as you're growing up as a teenager and sort of finding your own way. It was a really, really fantastic coming of age novel. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this one more like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, only because I wish it was longer. I feel like there's so much more that could have been explored in this story, and I feel like this could have been like a 300-page book and been really, really fantastic and just really dug deep into those ideas. Oh, and that book I used for the read a book that has yellow on the cover. The next book that I finished was The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John Le Carre. I'm just gonna assume that's the way you're supposed to say his name because no one has corrected me. This is a book that I did not really enjoy. I think I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. The style of writing is 100% not for me. This story follows a British agent who is living in sort of like Cold War Berlin. He's sort of forced to go kind of like undercover and go rogue a little bit and sort of trick the communists into believing that he's turning on the British intelligence agency and sort of go undercover into their group to get some things done that I don't want to talk about too closely because that kind of gives away a lot of the fun of the novel. Like I said, gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, and 99% of the reason is because of the way that this book is written. It is all tell and no show. There are significant chunks of this book that are literally just the main spy being interrogated, and so it's just like conversation and you're just reading about all of these different characters and you don't know who any of these people are, and so you're just like, what is even happening? Why should I even care? I will say that the last like 50 pages or so were really fantastic, and I was finally like, okay, now I kind of understand why this is such a great novel and why so many people love it so much. But the first 100, oh my gosh, if I wasn't reading this for a readathon, I 100% would have given up on this book. It is just so dialogue heavy. You don't feel that much of a connection to any of these characters. It's a relatively short book. This edition was like less than 250 pages, but it still took me like 4 days to complete because I was so bored for so long. I understand if people like this book, it is just not my thing. And that book I'm using for the read a book to movie adaptation and then watch the adaptation challenge. I haven't watched the movie adaptation yet. I have the DVD sitting here from the library, and so I plan on watching that tonight. It is currently like Sunday afternoon while I'm recording this, so that'll be my thing that I do tonight when I am done with reading completely. The next book that I finished was Burn Baby Burn by Meg Medina. This I was just using as like my 7th book sort of thing. I love this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm going to be doing a full review on it because I have so many thoughts and feelings about it, and I feel like Meg Medina is a young adult author who, at least on Booktube, I feel like I never hear anyone talk about or pick up. This story takes place during the summer of 1977 in New York City, during the time when the serial killer Son of Sam was, you know, killing people. You are following this girl named Nora who is 17, almost 18 years old at this point, and just all of the difficulties of growing up as a teenager. Not only is there a serial killer on the loose, but she sort of grows up in this poor family. Her brother has a horrible temper and does really horrific stuff, and then she's also starting to get a crush on the boy who she just started working with. Again, this was just so fantastic. I highly recommend picking this one up. I think this one was even better than Yaki Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass, which I read last year. I love this one even more, and I am so excited to talk more about it, but again, I'll be doing a full review on it, so you guys can look forward to that in August. The next book that I finished was The Transmigration of Bodies by Yuri Herrera. This book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, but it might be closer to a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoy Yuri Herrera as an author, and I'm clowning this one as read a book by your favorite author challenge, but this one wasn't quite as good to me as Science Preceding the End of the World. In this story, you are following this character who is called the Redeemer. He is basically this guy who sort of like solves problems and gets things done type of situation, and there are these two sort of feuding mob families in Mexico, and both of their children have gone missing to the other families, and there's a whole bunch of circumstances where the Redeemer has to sort of settle the situation without, you know, a mob war breaking out or anything like that. I'm not going to say any more than that, but because this book is like only 100 pages long, so there's a lot to really unpack here. I really enjoyed this book because there are a lot of complex characters that are presented talented in the story, even though it is so short. One of the things I didn't like about it is that there is a lot of like graphic sex that happens in the story, which I was so thrown off by. I mean, literally like the first chapter is just a sex scene, and I was just like, I don't really know what the point of this is. Like, I don't have a problem with sex when it's used with a purpose, but I didn't really see the purpose in this one. And then the final book that I read was One Crazy Summer by Williams-Garcia. This is a middle grade novel, and I used this for the Read a Book After Sunset challenge. Since this is a middle grade book, I was able to read it really quickly, and I love this so much. I was so surprised by this book. I'd heard really great things about it anyways. It had been on my list of books to read for a really long time, but I was so surprised by how much I actually enjoyed it, because I'm not someone who necessarily loves middle grade novels so much. But this one had so much depth to it and so much complexity to it. It was so surprising. Like, part of me wondered whether or not this was actually a middle grade book. Like, I was like, did I get confused and actually pick up like a young adult book? But this one is definitely middle grade and explores so much great stuff. In the story, you are following three sisters. The oldest one is Delphine, who is 11 years old, and she's sort of like the main character in the story. And then she has two younger sisters, Vanetta, I'm not completely sure how to pronounce that, and Fern. They have grown up all their lives in New York City, I believe in Brooklyn specifically, and their mother left them when they were little kids, and so one day their father decides that their kids should know their mother and flies them out to Oakland, California, where their mother lives, and they have to spend 1 month with her over the course of their summer. But their mother never really asked for this and didn't really want this to happen. You are following these girls as they sort of figure out what their relationship is with their mother and who their mother is and the things that they're involved with. It's really fantastic. This book also takes place, I believe, in the late 1960s. I want to say like 1968. And so their mother is a part of the Black Panther movement, and so you learn a lot about the Black Panthers, specifically the non-violent side of the Black Panthers, which does exist. It's this story about like family and sisterhood and heartbreak and growing up and seeing the complexities in life, and just, oh, it was so, so wonderful. It like simultaneously made my heart 3 times bigger and then broke it. This is the first book in a trilogy. I believe that you follow the girls when they return to Brooklyn, and then there's another third story that takes place in Alabama, and so I definitely will be picking up the rest of these books eventually. They were so well written. I was just so surprised by this book. It was so great. Such a great way to end the readathon. I was so happy with it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and like I said, I'll definitely be picking up more of these books. So yeah, that is my Booktube-a-thon wrap up. If you guys were paying attention to Friday's video, it was also 24 and 48 this weekend, and like I said, I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon, so it's technically not over yet. I only read for like 7 hours-ish on Saturday, and so I know for a fact I'm not even gonna hit 12, but my plan is that once I finish like recording this and editing and getting it all ready to go, I'll be spending part of my afternoon reading. I picked up again A Brief History of 7 Killings because I put this book down during the Booktube-a-thon, and I'm hoping to get to the halfway point. I'm almost there. I just started, I believe it's like the 3rd section in this book, and that section is about 100 pages or so, so I'm hoping to get through that section before the end of the night, but I also have plans tonight, so we'll see what happens. But I am really, really happy with how my Booktube-a-thon went. I'm so surprised I was able to actually read 7 books in 7 days, but I was just really lucky to have so many short books available to me. So yeah, that's everything that I have for you guys. If you participated in the Booktube-a-thon, let me know how you guys did, and let me know what your favorite book was that you read during the Booktube-a-thon, even if you didn't complete all of the challenges. If you read one book, I feel like you can consider it a success. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.